The Milky Way looks calm from afar, a river of light stretching across the night sky, dusted with quiet stars. But deep in its center lies something that does not glow. A silence so immense, it swallows light itself. Astronomers call it Sagittarius A*, a supermassive black hole, 4 million times the mass of our Sun, spinning in eternal hunger. Its gravity bends the paths of nearby stars into perfect ellipses, as if the galaxy itself is dancing around an invisible king. Imagine drifting toward that center through a mist of starlight. The further you move in, the stranger the physics become. Light slows, bends, folds back upon itself. Space thickens like honey. Time begins to stretch, then fracture. In this zone, what you see is not always what exists. It's a place where reality behaves more like a dream. Astronomers first suspected this presence decades ago, when stars near the galactic core began moving too fast, orbiting nothing visible. Later, with radio telescopes and infrared eyes, humanity peered closer. The center was not empty. It was filled with something massive and unseen, pulling everything inward. That was the first whisper of the abyss. Today, the Event Horizon Telescope listens to those whispers. 8 observatories across the planet, synchronized in perfect harmony, act as one enormous eye. Together they capture the faint glow of gas and dust swirling toward annihilation. Each photon is a traveler that escaped the last moment of gravity's grip, carrying with it a fragment of a dying star's final light. If you could see it up close, Sagittarius A* would not look like a hole at all, it would shimmer with a halo of fire. This accretion disk blazes with friction and fury, where particles collide at near light speed before vanishing forever. Around it is a shadow, a dark ring that defines the edge of the unknowable, the event horizon. Beyond that, no signal ever returns. And yet, amid this violence, there's a strange serenity. The feeding is slow, patient, timeless. Dust from ancient comets, echoes of exploded stars, even the faint gas between worlds, all are drawn inward, spiraling in a dance that can last millions of years. To a distant observer, it looks less like destruction and more like a heartbeat, a pulse in the fabric of space. If you're listening as you drift toward sleep, that's why these stories exist. Subscribe and share where you are and what time it is. I read them. New York at midnight, London before dawn, Sydney in daylight, like constellations across Earth, each one a tiny light beneath this same sky. The feeding black hole continues, unaware of watchers on a blue planet. Its hunger is ancient, unending. But within that darkness, scientists find meaning. Every flare of radiation, every pulse of energy, tells a story about how galaxies grow, evolve, and die. When the black hole feeds, it changes the Milky Way itself, stirring the orbits of stars, influencing clouds of gas thousands of light years away. There's a beauty in the contrast, infinite silence beside infinite motion, a cradle of annihilation that gives birth to light. The narrator's voice softens as if speaking to a dreamer, reminding us that even in darkness, there's a kind of creation. For every star that falls, another is born from its ashes somewhere else in the galaxy. Telescopes pick up soft radio hums, ripples of energy that reveal the meal's progress. These flares can last hours or fade in seconds. Scientists once compared them to cosmic burps, faint signals from the invisible throat of a galactic giant. But there's poetry there too, a reminder that the universe, for all its cold equations, still hums with rhythm. If we could hear it directly, perhaps it would sound like breathing. A deep, slow inhale of matter and light, followed by long pauses between. The black hole doesn't rush. It simply waits, a patient monarch surrounded by stars. Even the Milky Way's shape, the swirling spiral arms we see on postcards, owes something to this gravitational anchor. Without it, the galaxy might drift apart. What seems like terror from one perspective is balance from another. The monster at the center is also the guardian that keeps the stars in orbit. Astronomers often describe black holes as paradoxes. They destroy information, yet they teach us the most. They erase light, yet they define the brightest regions of the universe. They devour, yet in their hunger they reveal how galaxies breathe. Sagittarius A* is no exception, a quiet architect shaping the fate of billions of suns. As we listen, drifting deeper into the thought of it, there's something oddly comforting. The immense scale humbles the noise of human life. Traffic, clocks, arguments, all fade beside the notion of time bending near a horizon where seconds can stretch for centuries. There's peace in insignificance, in knowing that the galaxy carries on long after our lights go out. At the edge of that silence, imagine looking back at Earth, tiny, pale, and distant. The blue dot glows softly against the black. Every story, Every voice, every dream exists there, orbiting a single star halfway down a spiral arm. And yet, somehow we have managed to see across 26,000 light-years to glimpse the heart of our own galaxy. That, too, is a kind of miracle. The chapter closes as the narrator's tone slows, the imagery darkens to a gentle fade. The black hole continues to feed, unseen, patient as ever. Around it, the Milky Way drifts, stars moving in slow orbits like fireflies caught in an invisible current. The universe remains vast and calm. But in that calm there's a quiet question, like a faint vibration in the dark. What happens when the silence breaks? And in the drifting quiet, one could almost sense that another secret was about to reveal itself. The heart of the Milky Way does not roar, it whispers. From 50,000 light-years away, its hunger cannot be seen, only felt in the faint vibrations of space itself. Astronomers call it accretion, a word that sounds delicate, but in truth, it describes one of the most violent acts in the cosmos. A black hole feeding. Around Sagittarius A*, a storm of dust and plasma circles endlessly, drawn toward a center that no eye has ever seen. Each orbit is a countdown. Each shimmer of light is the last breath of something beautiful. Imagine watching it unfold, not through your eyes, but through instruments that translate invisible energies into color and sound. X-ray telescopes like Chandra capture the flare of atoms heated to millions of degrees as they spiral inward. Radio observatories, stretched across continents, piece together the ghostly outline of an event horizon. What looks like emptiness becomes a feast of motion. Matter shredded, magnetism twisted, space itself bending as it gives way to gravity's appetite. The feeding begins quietly. A fragment of gas, perhaps the remnant of a long-dead star, drifts close enough to feel the black hole's pull. It stretches, elongates, and brightens as friction turns motion into heat. Soon, it glows hotter than any star, a luminous ribbon circling the void. The narrator's tone softens, there's awe even in destruction. The feeding disk hums with light that will never escape. Some of that light becomes jets, narrow and brilliant, shot out perpendicular to the disk, energy escaping in a desperate display before silence swallows it whole. To the human ear, there is no sound in this place, yet one could imagine a low vibration, a deep, endless hum carried through the bones of spacetime. If the universe had a heartbeat, it might echo here. Each pulse is a photon's farewell. Each flicker is a memory leaving the realm of the known. For astronomers, this invisible feast is revealed only by what it consumes. Detectors pick up X-ray flares that erupt unpredictably, sometimes lasting minutes, sometimes hours. These signals cross the gulf of time, arriving at our telescopes like postcards from a vanished world. Every burst tells a story, a fragment of hydrogen torn apart, a field of magnetic force collapsing inward, a momentary flash of creation within destruction. But there is another kind of beauty, one that cannot be graphed or measured. It lies in the rhythm of what remains. The spiral of matter forms patterns like brush strokes across darkness. In long exposures, these arcs resemble the rings of a silent dance, a cosmic waltz between chaos and symmetry. The narrator lingers here, describing how the hot plasma forms layers, some bright, some hidden, like folds in a curtain of light. The closer one looks, the more infinite it seems. At the very edge, time behaves strangely. To an observer far away, the falling matter slows, appearing to hover near the horizon, its light stretched redder and redder until it fades into nothing. But to the matter itself, time races forward. In its final instant, the plunge is complete, and its story ends where time itself stops. The duality feels unreal. One object existing in two moments at once. One frozen forever, one gone forever. Scientists have tried to simulate this in laboratories and computer models, but reality exceeds imagination. Magnetic fields twist like invisible ropes, binding gas into knots that flare and vanish. Temperatures rise beyond comprehension, billions of degrees. In those last microseconds, quantum and classical physics blur, and the only certainty is loss. Yet within that loss lies creation. The energy flung outward becomes radiation that seeds the galaxy, heating dust, shaping new stars. Even as it devours, the black hole nourishes. Its feast becomes the galaxy's heartbeat. The starlight it swallows returns as radio echoes, as X-rays that spark distant nebulae into bloom. The process is ancient, repeating across eons as if the universe feeds itself in cycles of destruction and renewal. The narrator's voice softens again. Imagine drifting above this scene. No up, no down, only swirling light below and infinite dark beyond. The glow shifts from orange to blue to white, flickering like breath on a mirror. You feel the pull, the inevitable draw toward the center. Yet you remain a witness, safe in the calm distance of thought. Somewhere, an instrument hums on Earth, translating those flares into data. A scientist leans closer to the screen, seeing not chaos but rhythm. Each spike of energy becomes a heartbeat. Each curve on the graph a story retold. Perhaps, the narrator muses, understanding the black hole's hunger helps us understand our own. Our longing to know, to reach beyond what can be seen. There is poetry in that distance. The same gravity that traps light also binds galaxies together. The same forces that erase stars give shape to everything we see. To gaze upon Sagittarius A** is to look into both the beginning and the end. And as the chapter closes, the narrator lowers their voice to a whisper. If the black hole feeds, they say, what happens to the light it consumes? Does it vanish, or does it become something else entirely, waiting to be found in another form, another sky? The silence deepens, yet hidden in that silence is something waiting to be understood. The galaxy remembers. Not in words or voices, but in light, ghostly, delayed, and soft as the echo of a long-forgotten song. Far beyond the dust and calm shimmer of Sagittarius A*, faint X-rays flicker against clouds of gas. They are not happening now, they are memories, after images of an ancient feast, when the black hole at our center devoured a passing cloud. Astronomers once thought the space near Sagittarius A* was silent. Their instruments pointed toward the Milky Way's heart and found only calm radio hum. But years later, something stirred in the data, a glow spreading like a whisper through distant gas. It was not a flare, not a new event. It was light delayed by time, ricocheting off clouds thousands of light years away. The black hole had eaten long ago and the galaxy was still replying. Imagine the scene, a storm of plasma and torn starlight spiraling toward darkness, its final scream frozen in energy. That light travels outward, brushing against cosmic dust, scattering through molecular tendrils. What reaches our telescopes is only the faintest echo, a memory that has journeyed for centuries before finding us. Through instruments like Chandra and XMM Newton, scientists trace those X-ray ripples, comparing brightness shifts from year to year. In the stillness of the data, they see patterns, waves of illumination sweeping across the galactic center. Like ripples in a pond, these glows reveal how much energy Sagittarius A* once unleashed. For a brief time, our quiet black hole had shone as fiercely as a quasar, its appetite recorded in light long after the meal was over. Each flare tells a story. One cloud brightens first, then another farther away. By measuring the delay, astronomers mapped the hidden geometry of the Milky Way's core. They learned the distance between clouds, the curvature of dust, the rhythm of time itself. Every brightening is a timestamp, every shadow a clue. In these echoes, the past becomes a landscape that can be read like ancient script. The narration slows, inviting you to picture the black hole not as a monster, but as an artist, painting with invisible light. The colors it uses are X-rays and gamma bursts, its canvas, the interstellar mist. Each flash carves faint designs that persist for millennia, delicate threads of memory woven through the dark. To the human mind, this is almost impossible to grasp. We live in seconds, the galaxy dreams in centuries. When a photon leaves a black hole's meal and journeys outward, it may travel 10,000 years before striking a dust grain that redirects it toward Earth. And when it finally reaches us, we call it discovery. Yet what we're really seeing is history replayed in light. Astronomers often describe these echoes in musical terms. The black hole's feeding is a crescendo, the delayed X-ray flares are the reverberation that follows. Each reflection fades slowly, overlapping the next, building a harmony of energy and distance. In that harmony lies understanding, not of sound but of scale. The universe doesn't shout. It whispers patiently through light. In one particularly haunting observation, a cloud named G0, 11 to 0, 11 brightened unexpectedly. Over months, it grew in intensity then dimmed again as if breathing. The light that caused it had come from Sagittarius A* 300 years ago. Somewhere in the 1600s, while humans were discovering new continents and building telescopes, the center of our galaxy erupted in brilliance unseen by any eye. Only now are we witnessing its echo, the universe's delayed confession. As the narrator's tone softens, you can almost hear the data itself breathing. The steady hum of detectors, the faint clicks of cosmic particles striking sensors, the rustle of numbers turning into meaning. Science becomes an act of listening to the silence between flares, to the intervals that reveal how time stretches in the deep. Beyond the facts lies the poetry of it. These echoes prove that nothing in the universe truly vanishes without trace. Even light consumed by gravity leaves fingerprints in the dark. The dust remembers. The gas remembers. Space itself seems to hold its breath, preserving the moment when creation met oblivion. Some scientists speculate that these flares might help us measure the black hole's feeding cycle, offering hints of how often it awakens. Others see them as markers of galactic rhythm, the quiet inhale and exhale of the Milky Way's heart. In either view, the echoes are both science and symphony, precision and wonder intertwined. Drifting deeper, the narrative slows again. You are invited to imagine floating within those gas clouds, watching faint blue glows bloom and fade. Each shimmer is the residue of something powerful yet gone. The universe seems to replay its own memories not out of vanity but out of nature, because even darkness cannot entirely forget the light it once knew. In this thought there's a quiet human reflection. Memory itself is an echo. The past doesn't exist, yet its ripples shape us. Just as space remembers the flare of a black hole, we remember our own brief bursts of light, moments of joy, discovery, or loss, long after they've faded. Perhaps in that symmetry lies the secret reason these cosmic phenomena move us. They remind us that the universe dreams in the same way we do. Instruments keep watching year after year. Some nights the X-ray sky remains calm, others reveal faint tremors, new ripples rising from unseen depths. Scientists log each flare, knowing that behind every number is a story unfolding at a scale our minds can barely hold. Yet they listen anyway because that's what curiosity demands, a patient ear tuned to the quiet music of the cosmos. And so the chapter closes softly. The galaxy's heart drifts back into calm shadow, but somewhere deep within the dust, another echo is beginning its journey toward us. The light will arrive centuries from now, carrying the memory of another feast, another flare, another story waiting to be told. The silence deepens, but in that silence, something ancient still hums, faint and patient, as if the universe itself were remembering us too. It begins as a whisper across the galactic sea, a faint glimmer drifting toward something ancient and unseen. A solitary star, bright and oblivious, glides through the Milky Way's inner arms. Around it, dust glows in a soft haze. Planets, if any still follow, circle in rhythmic silence. But its path has changed. Its trajectory bends subtly, then more sharply. The invisible hand of gravity begins to pull. Somewhere ahead, beyond clouds of cosmic dust, waits the heart of darkness, Sagittarius A*, a black hole 4 million times the mass of our Sun. At first, the star's journey seems peaceful. It drifts past orbiting comets, through thin filaments of interstellar gas. Yet with every light year the airless void grows heavier. Space begins to curve. The star's velocity increases, drawn by a force it cannot see or resist. In this stillness, time itself stretches. To an outside observer, the motion seems to slow, like a dream sinking into syrup. But for the star, the fall quickens. Astronomers call this moment the tidal radius, the invisible line where gravity stops holding a body together and starts tearing it apart. If the star crosses it, the result is not an explosion, but an unraveling. Its surface begins to bulge, one side stretched toward the black hole, the other dragged behind. Tides far stronger than any ocean on Earth pull at its core, twisting it into a stream of light. Through telescopes, scientists can't see the star's pain, only its beauty. They record spikes in ultraviolet and X-ray light. Spectrographs trace the elements, hydrogen, helium, iron, ripping free from fusion's furnace. The instruments hum quietly, turning tragedy into data. To the human eye, it would look like a slow-motion sunrise blooming in reverse. The star flares one last time, then begins to dissolve, its brilliance stretching into a luminous ribbon that wraps the black hole like silk. This process is known as a tidal disruption event, a feeding. The black hole doesn't swallow instantly, it feeds slowly, delicately. Streams of gas spiral inward, forming a hot, glowing disk. Temperatures rise into the millions of degrees. The accretion disk emits bursts of light across the spectrum, gamma, X-ray, visible, infrared. Each wavelength carries a piece of the story, and together they tell of annihilation disguised as creation. The narrator's tone softens. Imagine you are there, hovering just beyond the event horizon. Around you, the universe curves into impossible shapes. The black hole does not shine, yet everything near it burns with terrible beauty. The shredded remains of the star orbit faster and faster, until even light struggles to keep up. Then, one by one, the particles cross the boundary from existence to memory. On Earth, telescopes catch these echoes years later, faint flickers that appear and fade in distant galaxies. Astronomers compare the timing, the pattern, the spectral fingerprints. They measure not only what was lost but how it vanished. And in that data lies something poetic, a record of inevitability written in light. To the human heart there's a strange comfort in it. The star, once burning alone in a cold galaxy, becomes part of something vast. Its atoms join the dark, feeding the engine that holds the Milky Way together. Its end is not destruction, but transformation. The black hole's hunger maintains the galaxy's balance. Without these quiet devourings, the cosmic dance would lose its rhythm. The narrator pauses, letting the silence stretch. In that silence, you can almost hear the pull, the faint hum of spacetime bending, a frequency too low for human ears. Every second, somewhere in the universe, another star meets the same fate. Some too dim to notice, others bright enough to be seen halfway across the cosmos. Each is a reminder that gravity is not cruel, it is simply honest. Scientists continue to watch. Satellites like Chandra and XMM Newton trace the X-rays. The Event Horizon Telescope listens for the faint radio glow that follows. Every observation adds a brushstroke to the portrait of the unseen. Yet no matter how precise the instruments become, one thing remains beyond measure. The story of that single star, the one that drifted too close, unaware of its destiny. In Sleep-like Calm, the narration turns introspective. For all our knowledge, we are still travelers in the dark, orbiting mysteries we cannot touch. We call it a tidal disruption event, but perhaps it is something more, an ending that feeds the beginnings elsewhere. Like memories fading into dreams, or voices echoing in deep water, the energy never truly dies. It merely changes form, carried onward by the current of the cosmos. And as the last remnants of the star sink into silence, the galaxy continues to turn. Its spiral arms shimmer faintly, unaware of the tragedy that just unfolded at its core. The night remains vast and indifferent, yet full of quiet meaning for those who listen. Somewhere billions of years from now, another star will drift near the same shadow. It too will feel that invisible pull, that cosmic invitation. And the story will repeat, a slow, beautiful ending written in the language of gravity. The voice softens, almost fading into the sound of cosmic wind. What if the next star to wander close is ours? The thought lingers like starlight trapped in glass, fragile, distant, and impossibly bright, before dissolving into the dark. There is a sound that cannot be heard, yet it travels endlessly through the fabric of the cosmos. It is not made of air or vibration but of spacetime itself, the deep, hidden rhythm of gravity. If the universe had a heartbeat, it would pulse through these invisible waves. Tonight, as you drift beneath the quiet dome of the sky, imagine that every star above you sways gently to that cosmic music. When two black holes collide or when one feeds on a drifting star, the universe quivers. Those ripples, gravitational waves, stretch and compress space by less than the width of an atom. Yet across billions of light-years they whisper their story. Detectors like LIGO in the United States and Virgo in Italy stand in still deserts and valleys, waiting, listening for those faint murmurs. Long tunnels of laser light, for kilometers in length, bounce between mirrors so precise they can sense distortions smaller than a proton. When the signal arrives, it isn't a loud crash. It is a gentle rise and fall, a soft chirp, that lasts less than a second. But within that tiny sound lies the echo of unimaginable power, black holes merging, stars collapsing, galaxies trembling. Each detection is like catching a note from an orchestra we cannot see. For a feeding black hole, that orchestra never stops. As matter spirals inward, energy flares and spacetime hums. The accretion disk, spinning plasma hotter than a million suns, sends out ripples through light and gravity alike. The rhythm shifts with every burst, every swallowed fragment of a star. Gravity becomes melody, energy becomes tempo. The Milky Way itself vibrates faintly in reply, though our senses are too fragile to feel it. Scientists describe these ripples in equations, in graphs of peaks and troughs. But imagine it instead as a vast ocean. The black hole is a stone cast into it, and every orbiting body, every star, planet, and cloud of dust, rides the waves it sends out. If you could float beyond time, you might see spacetime bending like liquid, shimmering with hidden motion. Sometimes the feeding slows and the song quiets. The black hole waits, suspended in silence, until another fragment of the galaxy drifts too near. Then once again the harmony builds. Each flare of X-rays or burst of jets becomes percussion in this unseen symphony. A flare recorded by NASA's Chandra Observatory glows for hours, then fades, like a lingering note dissolving into the dark. The narrator's voice softens. Humanity has only just begun to hear this music. For centuries the universe appeared silent. The night sky was beauty without sound. But now, with instruments that measure the trembling of spacetime itself, we realize the silence was never empty. It was simply playing in a frequency too deep for us to detect. There's a strange comfort in that. To know that even in the void there is rhythm, subtle, patient, eternal. It means that creation itself has a structure, a pulse, a balance between stillness and motion. The feeding of a black hole isn't chaos. It's choreography. The chapter drifts into reflection. Somewhere in the galaxy, two neutron stars collide, sending out a final wave that will reach Earth long after we're gone. A billion years from now, another signal will arrive, faint and pure, telling of a collision that ended before our species began. Each one is a time capsule, a musical note written on the fabric of spacetime, carrying both destruction and creation within it. If you close your eyes, you can almost sense it, the rise and fall of distant energy, the way the universe swells and recedes like breath. The Milky Way hums, the Earth vibrates faintly in response, and somewhere beyond the horizon, Sagittarius A * continues its quiet feeding. The gravitational waves ripple outward forever, never growing weaker, only fainter, softer, until they become indistinguishable from the background hum of existence. Some scientists call it the stochastic gravitational wave background, a phrase that sounds mechanical, but what it means is beautiful. It means that every event that has ever happened, every black hole that has ever sung, contributes to a faint universal chord. The entire cosmos is still resonating with its own memories. And as telescopes grow sharper, detectors more sensitive, humanity learns to separate the instruments in that orchestra. The long hum of merging galaxies, the tremolo of dying stars, the deep drone of black holes feeding. Someday, perhaps, we will map those sounds like we once mapped constellations, drawing invisible lines between cosmic notes and calling them songs. But there's something else, something quieter still. Between each pulse, between each detection, there is silence. That silence is not absence, it's space itself catching its breath. It's the pause between verses of the oldest lullaby ever sung. The more we listen, the more we realize that the universe is not chaotic noise, it's a composition written across infinity. Imagine drifting towards sleep while knowing that even now, in the heart of the galaxy, a black hole is shaping the rhythm of time. Its pull tugs at stars, bends light, and rearranges destiny. And all the while it sings, a song made not of air but of curvature and gravity. If gravity sings, then somewhere, something must be listening. Perhaps the stars hear it, their orbits swaying ever so slightly in tune. Perhaps the dark matter hums along, invisible yet responsive. Or perhaps it's us, the observers, the dreamers, who are destined to translate its silence into meaning. The hum fades, leaving only the soft resonance of possibility, as if the universe itself is waiting for its next verse. In the silent center of the Milky Way, where the light of billions of stars fades into a swirling night, something immense waits. It does not shine, it does not move as stars do, yet everything nearby bends toward it. Astronomers call it Sagittarius A*, a supermassive black hole 4 million times the mass of the Sun, resting in the galaxy's invisible heart. Imagine drifting closer. Around you, starlight stretches and bends like liquid glass. Dust clouds shimmer with faint blue and red glows as they spiral inward. Here, gravity is not a pull but a tide, a rhythm that reshapes the flow of time itself. Seconds begin to lengthen. A single orbit near the center could outlast a human lifetime. The cosmos itself seems to breathe slower, as if the galaxy is holding its breath. High above Earth, telescopes trace faint radio waves through the fog of interstellar gas. The Event Horizon Telescope, an array of instruments scattered across the globe, listens patiently. Each one gathers whispers from this hidden core, and together they build an image not of light but of absence. The result is a ring of fire surrounding a shadow, the first true portrait of a black hole's edge. What you see is not the object itself, but its last word before silence. The final light that escapes before everything beyond it falls forever. If you're listening to this as you drift towards sleep, that's exactly why these stories exist. Subscribe and tell me where you are and what time it is. I read every one. New York at midnight, London before dawn, Sydney in afternoon light, each listener a small star in this quiet constellation across Earth. Scientists call Sagittarius A* quiescent, meaning calm, mostly dormant. But calm in cosmic language is deceptive. Every so often, the radio waves brighten. Something, perhaps a cloud of gas, perhaps a wandering star, ventures too close and begins to spiral inward. Friction heats it until it glows with energy brighter than 10,000 suns. To us, it appears as a flicker, a momentary pulse. To the black hole it is a meal. Even now, data flows from observatories. Small bursts, erratic flares, whispers of motion. In the abyss, matter stretches into streams and ribbons before vanishing. The process is so slow that from our view, it looks frozen. Time dilated by gravity until every motion is an eternity. Yet within that frozen image lies chaos. Magnetic storms twisting at near-light speed, space and time folded into a single trembling fabric. Astronomers compare it to a heartbeat. Every flare, every ripple of radiation, is a pulse marking the rhythm of a creature we cannot see. It feeds, rests and feeds again, shaping the galaxy around it. Stars move in long, obedient arcs, tracing invisible lines of power. Some come close and survive, slingshot back into the night. Others never return. If you stood near the center of the Milky Way, if standing were possible, you would not see darkness but color. Blues fading to gold, streams of dust lit by distant suns, a river of plasma winding into infinity. And beneath it all, silence. No roar, no thunder. Just the quiet hum of gravity doing its endless work. For centuries, humans have looked at the night sky and asked where everything begins and ends. Sagittarius A asterisk might be the closest answer we have. It is both the center and the void, a paradox that defies the comfort of boundaries. Around it, the galaxy spins, our solar system, our world, our fleeting lives, all caught in its steady, unseen pull. Astronomers once feared that a black hole was the end of everything. Now they see it as a forge. Its feeding shapes the galaxy, spreading heavy elements through violent winds, seeding the birth of future stars. Even destruction here becomes creation elsewhere. In that balance, the universe finds its strange peace. So when you look up tonight, remember, somewhere 26,000 light-years away, this heart of darkness continues to beat. Dust drifts into light, light fades into silence, and silence deepens into gravity's dream. We listen from afar, our instruments trembling with its faint rhythm, as though the galaxy itself were breathing through them. The night remains still. Yet behind that stillness, the black hole stirs, a quiet hunger at the center of all things. And in that vast silence, something unseen waits to break it. At the edge of all known light, where gravity folds the laws of physics into silence, matter meets its mirror, shadow. Here, the invisible jaws of Sagittarius A asterisk open wide. It does not devour instantly. Instead, it dances. Around it, a disk of gas, dust, and broken atoms spins faster than thought, glowing in colors no eye could ever truly see. The narrator's voice softens as if afraid to disturb what unfolds, a slow, eternal waltz between matter and the void. Each fragment of starlight in this disk began somewhere, perhaps in the heart of a dying star, or the wake of a comet's ancient journey. Now, those particles spiral inward, pulled into an accretion disk so hot it outshines entire constellations. Through telescopes, it looks like a glowing ring, blue at the center, red at the edges, plasma twisting in magnetic threads that stretch and snap like cosmic violin strings. Within this maelstrom, time itself distorts. To an outside observer, it seems eternal. To the particles within, it is an instant. Scientists call this the photon ring, where light is bent into endless orbits, circling the abyss but never escaping. Each loop of light is a memory, a frozen echo of what once was. As photons graze the event horizon, they are stretched, reddened, blurred into the shape of inevitability. The narrator describes it like watching the last breath of a candle reflected in a mirror that curves inward forever. At the edges of this ring, magnetic fields twist into spirals. They capture charged particles and fling them outward at nearly the speed of light, forming jets that pierce space like spears of energy. To the human eye, these would appear as thin golden threads extending across unimaginable distances, some reaching beyond the Milky Way's edge. These jets are paradoxes of power, born from gravity's grip yet escaping its hold, carrying whispers of the black holes feeding to the farthest corners of the universe. It is not destruction alone. It is creation through collapse. Every flicker of energy that bursts free from this feeding frenzy becomes part of something larger, perhaps a nebula, perhaps a newborn star. The narrator pauses, describing it as a cycle of cosmic metabolism, where death and birth exist in the same heartbeat. Imagine drifting near that edge. The airless silence hums with radiation. Space bends like glass under heat. The disk rotates faster than any storm on Earth, millions of kilometers per hour, yet appears motionless in its grandeur. The glow is blue where the plasma moves toward you, red where it recedes. This is relativity turned visible. Light sculpted by motion, gravity painting colors in the dark. Instruments on Earth, ALMA, Chandra, the Event Horizon Telescope, record these invisible notes. They translate radiation into sound, light into data, chaos into form. And when those signals combine, humanity sees what was once only imagined, the shadow of a black hole surrounded by its luminous crown. The voice softens to a whisper, "You're looking not at the hole itself but the light that tried and failed to escape." At that realization, awe overtakes fear. The black hole is no longer just a monster consuming stars. It becomes a mirror for the universe's balance, a reminder that even darkness has structure, rhythm, and grace. The feeding is not violent, it is precise. Each particle follows a trajectory governed by elegant laws. The narrator likens it to a symphony where every note, every decay, and every burst is perfectly timed. And yet, even in this beauty, something unsettling remains. For all its light, all its movement, all its soundless fire, everything drawn too close is lost. The atoms that once built stars, planets, or perhaps life itself are erased from the record of space. Their information, their story is consumed. Or is it? Some physicists suggest that nothing is truly lost. That every bit of data carried by those particles remains encoded in the light escaping around the edges, or trapped in the subtle quantum ripples left behind. If so, the black hole is not a destroyer, it is a keeper of secrets, a cosmic archivist writing in a language we have yet to learn. From a human distance, this truth feels intimate. We too create and consume, destroy and remember. The same physics that governs black holes governs our hearts. Pressure, release, transformation. The narrator pauses, allowing the hum of space to fill the silence before speaking again, slower now. Perhaps the terrifying part of a black hole isn't what it takes away, but what it shows us about ourselves. The way light clings to the edge of darkness, refusing to vanish. In the calm that follows, the soundscape fades. The hiss of plasma, the whisper of magnetic lines, the faint murmur of spacetime stretching. All that remains is the image of the photon ring, spinning like a luminous halo in an ocean of nothing. And then, as the tone deepens into near silence, the narrator poses one final thought, barely above a whisper. If energy escapes as light, does darkness ever truly win? Or does it simply wait, quietly, for its turn to shine again? The glow fades. The sound of the galaxy's heartbeat slows. And in the quiet between breaths, one could almost sense another secret forming just beyond sight, waiting to be understood. Time, near a black hole, behaves like a whisper stretched across eternity. The closer you drift toward that dark horizon, the slower every second becomes. To an observer far away, your fall appears endless, a motion frozen in amber. Yet to you, it feels natural, smooth and fast, as though the rest of the universe has decided to hold its breath. This is time dilation, the strange way gravity reshapes not only space but the very rhythm of existence. The narrator speaks softly, describing Einstein's revelation, that time is not absolute. It bends under the weight of mass, curling around stars, gas and black holes like fabric folding under a stone. Near the event horizon of Sagittarius A*, time itself stretches thin, almost transparent. Clocks tick slower. Pulsars fade. Light loses color, bleeding into red, then vanishing altogether. Imagine you are drifting closer, your ship steady, your breath shallow. The glow from distant stars begins to warp, swirling around you like liquid glass. The Milky Way's familiar disk elongates, bends and finally becomes a single halo. From where you came, minutes are passing. But here, near this invisible wall, centuries might already be gone. Civilizations could rise and fall while your heartbeat remains between two moments. Einstein once called this effect, the illusion of separation. He believed time and space were threads of the same tapestry, woven together so tightly that what happens in one corner ripples through the rest. The deeper the gravity well, the heavier the stitch. Near a black hole, those stitches pull apart until the thread nearly snaps. The narrator pauses, letting silence stretch between words, like the universe itself hesitating. Astronomers have seen this paradox play out. They watch stars orbit Sagittarius A* in elegant ellipses, measuring how their light wobbles in frequency, proof that time near the black hole moves differently. To them, those orbits confirm the theory. But to the listener, it feels like watching a heartbeat slow in deep sleep. A calm tone describes the view from afar. From Earth, the black hole's edge is invisible, yet its presence warps everything behind it. A star that should take 16 years to loop around does it slower. The delay isn't a flaw, it's the mark of space-time bending, time stretching like taffy under an invisible hand. Now the narrator turns the lens inward again. If you could fall toward that horizon, you'd never know when you crossed it. There's no wall, no moment of change, just gradual silence. Your instruments would hum slower. Your voice recorder would capture your words elongated, warped into deep tones that no one could hear in real time. To the outside world, you'd appear suspended forever on the edge, never crossing, never vanishing. But in your own frame of time, you would fall swiftly, peacefully, past the point of no return. This is the paradox. Both realities are true. You fall in, others see you stall. Both observers are correct, but they inhabit different clocks, different truths. Time itself refuses to be universal. It becomes local, personal, intimate. The narrator invites the listener to imagine lying under a sky so full of stars it seems alive. Every pinprick of light represents a clock, each ticking at its own pace depending on where it lies in the cosmic web. Near black holes, time slows. Between galaxies, it stretches. On Earth, it flows at a pace set by our sun's gravity. And somewhere in the deep, a photon from a distant explosion may still be traveling. A relic from a time when time itself was younger. As the soft music fades beneath the narration, a thought takes shape. Perhaps this isn't a flaw in the universe but a mercy. If time can stretch, perhaps memory can too. Perhaps the cosmos gives every story a chance to linger, to echo a little longer before it fades. The light around the black hole continues to bend, pulling into an endless spiral. To the human eye, it would look like a slow dance, gold and crimson threads weaving toward darkness. But that darkness isn't a wall, it's the horizon of understanding. Beyond it, physics stops whispering and begins to dream. The voice lowers almost to a murmur. If something could fall forever, could it also never be lost? In that question lies both wonder and peace. The image fades, the spiral, the glow, the slow pulse of gravity, and only the faint hum of cosmic background remains, steady as a heartbeat. And somewhere deep in that cradle of silence, time itself continues to stretch and wait. It begins with a flicker, an unexpected heartbeat from the center of our galaxy. In a stretch of sky so still it might as well be asleep, Sagittarius A * brightens without warning. A surge of X-rays spills across the void, and telescopes from Chile to Hawaii awaken, turning their eyes toward the galactic core. The Milky Way for a moment glows as if something ancient has exhaled. Astronomers call it a flare. But to those who listen closely to the rhythm of the cosmos, it feels more like a pulse, steady, alive, and impossibly vast. Each flare is a message written in light, its meaning hidden in the folds of space-time. Some last mere minutes. Others stretch across hours as though the black hole itself is catching its breath between feasts. The Event Horizon Telescope detects faint ripples in radio waves, patterns so delicate they resemble the beat of a living thing. Scientists record every photon, every tiny rise in brightness. What could have caused this sudden flare? Perhaps a stray comet, drawn too close and shredded into plasma. Or a planet, swallowed whole in a silent flash of gravity and heat. Around the black hole, the airless void is not truly dark. Magnetic fields twist like golden ribbons, catching stray dust and ionized gas. Each swirl of plasma glows briefly before vanishing into the event horizon. From a distance, it looks almost beautiful, a cosmic candle flickering in the endless night. One astronomer watching the data stream describes it as the galaxy breathing. The phrase catches on. Journalists repeat it, then poets, then those who listen to the stars just to feel small again. But in the calm, measured voice of the narrator, the truth is quieter. These flares are not lungs expanding and contracting. They are the chaotic byproduct of creation meeting destruction, a dance where matter gives its last light before surrendering to darkness. Still, the metaphor lingers because it feels right. The galaxy does seem to breathe in rhythms too slow for any human to sense. Every few thousand years, Sagittarius A * flares in hunger, then falls into silence. To us, it is a rare event. To the cosmos, it is routine. A blink, a sigh. In gentle tones, the narrator explains that these flares tell us about the black hole's diet, its temperature, its spin, the density of matter swirling around it. They are clues to an unseen machine that has shaped the Milky Way since its birth. Without Sagittarius A *, our galaxy's spiral arms might never have formed. Stars would wander without anchor. Even the sun's orbit depends quietly on that gravitational heart. And so, when the flare comes, astronomers do not panic. They listen. They measure. They wait. For within that single pulse lies the history of everything that has ever drifted too close. The tone softens. Imagine, the narrator whispers, standing beneath a midnight sky. To your eyes, it's motionless, just a scatter of light. But somewhere 26,000 light-years away, An invisible hand has stirred the heart of the galaxy. For a few brief moments, starlight across billions of miles grows just a little brighter, as if reacting to a distant memory. Inside observatories, the hum of cooling fans replaces the rush of wind. Screens fill with graphs and waveforms, each one trembling with the faint echo of the flare. Data arrives not as light but as time. Signals delayed by the vastness of space, ancient photons reaching us long after their source has gone quiet. It is as though we are listening to the echo of a heartbeat that has already stopped. In the calm analysis that follows, scientists debate the source. Some say the flare was caused by magnetic reconnection, lines of force snapping and rejoining like lightning in slow motion. Others suggest a small cloud of gas trapped in orbit finally giving in. But beneath the mathematics there's wonder. Because every time the galaxy pulses, it reminds us that something we thought was silent can still speak. The narrator pauses, allowing the listener to feel that silence. The space between stars is not empty. It is filled with whispers, low-frequency radio waves, ancient radiation, the hum of cosmic background noise. All of it forms a kind of music, slow and eternal. The flare in this grand orchestra is just one sudden note, loud, brief, unforgettable. As the light fades, the galaxy resumes its quiet rhythm. The instruments on Earth continue to listen, their dishes turned upward, patient and still. The pulse has passed, but its afterglow lingers in data and dreams. Somewhere in the swirling plasma, the laws of physics continue their endless dance. Gravity drawing in, energy pushing out, creation balanced on the edge of annihilation. In the soft final moments, the narration turns reflective. Perhaps these flares are not random. Perhaps they are reminders that even in darkness, there are moments of light, brief and brilliant. The black hole, in its hunger, becomes a paradox, a destroyer that teaches us about existence. The voice slows almost to a whisper. Maybe the Milky Way is not a machine nor a graveyard, but something closer to alive. It's every flare a heartbeat, it's every silence a breath. And as the last photons fade into the infinite night, one thought drifts quietly through the mind of anyone still listening. Is the galaxy alive, or just remembering how to breathe? The galaxy sleeps under a slow-turning veil of light. Around its center, Sagittarius A hums softly, a dark star whose appetite shapes the rhythm of everything that orbits it. Yet, within that silence, a question lingers like a pulse. When something crosses the event horizon, is it gone? Or is it speaking in a language we have not yet learned to hear? Astronomers have spent decades tracing those faint whispers. They follow jets of plasma that shoot from galactic cores, bursts of radiation that seem to defy explanation. Each signal is a kind of message, a fragment of energy born from destruction. When a black hole feeds, it distorts not only space and time but also the information written in the particles it devours. According to Einstein's equations, nothing escapes its pull, not light, not data, not memory. But according to quantum mechanics, information cannot be destroyed. The contradiction creates a quiet storm at the heart of modern physics. Picture it, a particle falling toward the event horizon. To a distant observer, it slows, redshifts, and fades, trapped forever on the edge of sight. But in its own frame, it crosses the boundary without hesitation, carrying its secrets inward. Does the universe keep those secrets locked away, or does it find a way to release them? Some theories whisper of Hawking radiation, a faint glow born when quantum pairs appear near the horizon. One particle falling inward, the other escaping. That escaping particle, fragile and cold, carries a sliver of the black hole's story with it. Over unimaginable timescales, the whole evaporates, returning its mass to the universe as a cosmic confession whispered in photons. To us, it is almost silent, a sound below sound, but the mathematics suggest that every bit of matter ever consumed might one day return as radiation, encoding everything it once was. Physicists call this the information paradox. It's not just a puzzle about physics, it's a question about memory itself. Can the universe forget? Or does every collision, every death, every swallowed star remain written somewhere in the dark? If you could listen closely enough, perhaps each burst of energy, each flare of gamma light, is a syllable in that vast conversation. The Event Horizon Telescope, in its search for shadows, became humanity's first attempt to read this language. By mapping the faint ring around Sagittarius A*, scientists discovered not only the boundary between light and darkness but also the subtle dance of matter whispering just before silence. Within that luminous ring lies the story of everything that came too close. Every swirl of plasma, every magnetic twist, carries encoded patterns, tiny, delicate fingerprints of what once was. Yet the mystery deepens. In 2019, a simulation suggested that black holes might act like mirrors, reflecting information through quantum entanglement. The concept is dizzying. A photon swallowed on one side of the galaxy could be entangled with another light particle halfway across the cosmos. The event horizon, once thought to be a one-way wall, could instead be a kind of membrane, a translator between what enters and what remains outside. Some scientists propose that the horizon behaves like a hologram, storing information across its surface in unimaginably thin threads. If true, it means the three-dimensional universe we experience may be a projection of deeper, hidden data, our entire existence written like light on an invisible screen. But there are others who take the idea further. To them, black holes are not just destroyers or archives. They are messengers, gateways where reality redefines itself. In the early universe, when stars collapsed and new elements were forged, perhaps these cosmic giants served as engines of transformation. Matter falls in, information condenses, and something new may emerge beyond our comprehension. The narrator's tone softens. You are invited to imagine standing at the edge of that abyss, watching dust spiral inward like golden smoke. Every fragment carries a history, a memory of birth, decay, and light. As the horizon swallows it, you can almost sense the story continuing somewhere inside, rewritten but not erased. Quantum physicists describe this through unitarity, the rule that every process in the universe must, in theory, be reversible. Even when matter disappears, its informational essence remains, tangled within the quantum foam beneath spacetime. The black hole becomes both tomb and library, a paradox made of silence. And so the cosmic question remains: does Sagittarius A asterisk feed only to destroy, or to preserve? If information truly survives, then perhaps nothing is ever truly lost, only translated into forms we cannot yet interpret. The data might be hidden in the spin of particles, in gravitational waves, or in the faint hum that telescopes mistake for noise. Some dreamers suggest that if one could decode that hum, one might recover the final words of stars, the last light of civilization swallowed by time. Every black hole, then, would be a memory vault, a place where the universe keeps its oldest stories safe from decay. In the end, science and poetry find each other here. The idea that destruction could be preservation, that silence could be language, that death could be memory, it feels both terrifying and tender. It means that every atom that ever lived might still be speaking, somewhere beyond the event horizon, waiting for us to learn how to listen. And as the narrator's voice softens into stillness, the listener is left with a fragile image: the Milky Way turning slowly, its heart glowing faintly with invisible words. Perhaps, among those quiet flares and radio pulses, the universe is not only swallowing its past but whispering it back to us, bit by bit, light by light, across the endless dark. The thought drifts like a final breath. If every atom tells a story, what tales lie trapped within the dark? The silence deepens, and somewhere beyond it, another secret begins to stir. Beneath the soft hum of the Milky Way, where dust forms a golden haze and starlight drifts like breath across eternity, lies a silence so profound it bends space itself. Sagittarius A asterisk, the black hole at the heart of our galaxy, has always been seen as a devourer, a point of no return where light and matter meet their end. But some whisper another possibility, that beyond its darkness lies a doorway. Not destruction but passage. Not an end but a bridge. The thought itself feels fragile, almost forbidden. A wormhole, an invisible tunnel through the fabric of spacetime. A bridge between two distant points in the universe, or perhaps between two universes entirely. In theory, such structures are permitted by Einstein's equations. In practice, they remain hidden behind the veil of gravity's deepest secret. The narrator's voice slows, each word drifting like dust illuminated by distant stars. Imagine, it says, space folding in on itself, 2 points touching, 2 horizons meeting. Scientists call it the Einstein-Rosen bridge. A name born in mathematics but kept alive by imagination. If black holes bend reality inward, could there be something that bends it outward again? The geometry is delicate, almost poetic, like folding a sheet of paper so two distant ink marks meet. But this is no paper, it is space-time itself, infinite and heavy. The slightest instability would collapse it. The dream of a stable wormhole flickers between science and myth, like a candle beneath cosmic winds. Telescopes can't see inside the horizon, but they can watch its influence ripple through the stars. Gas clouds orbit, time dilates, and gravity whispers secrets only equations can hear. Some scientists suggest that Sagittarius A asterisk's strange quiet, its long pauses between bursts, might not be idleness but balance. What if, beyond that silence, space continues in another form? What if the energy we see falling in does not vanish, but reappears elsewhere, faint and distorted, like an echo through folded light? The narrator's tone softens, inviting the listener to drift closer. Picture a corridor of light and shadow, where gravity becomes the floor and time itself the air. The closer you move toward the event horizon, the slower the universe seems to breathe. Distant stars stretch into streaks of red. Seconds grow long, then longer still, until they dissolve entirely. To an outside observer, you would appear frozen at the edge forever. Yet for you, crossing that boundary would take only a heartbeat, a single step into the unknown. In such conditions, distance loses meaning. The Milky Way above you could collapse into a single glowing thread, and a trillion miles could feel no longer than a sigh. The narrator speaks as though guiding a dreamer through fog. You would not fall, it says. You would drift. Through corridors not made of stone but of bent geometry, your body a shadow stretched through dimensions you can't imagine. Each atom would hum in frequencies older than stars. Somewhere within that hum, a hidden pattern might emerge, a rhythm that feels less like falling and more like remembering. The idea of wormholes captures not just physicists but poets, philosophers, and night thinkers who look up and wonder if somewhere, someone else looks back. The theory tempts the human need to connect, to believe that distance is an illusion, that even the farthest corners of creation can touch. And though equations warn of collapse, of singularities tearing the bridge apart, hope persists. Because every time science approaches an edge, imagination leans forward to see what lies beyond. The narrator recounts a moment in history, when Kip Thorne, a physicist, first described how such a bridge might appear, years before it became cinematic reality in Interstellar. His equations showed that traversable wormholes would require exotic matter, something that resists gravity instead of obeying it. Something not yet found, yet not entirely impossible. In those numbers lies a quiet defiance, as if the universe left hints of shortcuts but hid the keys deep within its own design. Outside the equations, nature remains silent. Sagittarius A* emits no sign of passage, no flicker that could reveal a hidden bridge. But the symmetry of the cosmos is hauntingly elegant. If space can bend into collapse, might it also bend into escape? If gravity can trap light, could it also release it somewhere else, at the other end of a tunnel, emerging as a newborn beam in another galaxy's night? Soft ambient tones fill the mind's ear, the whisper of solar wind brushing against nothing, the faint pulse of radio static from telescopes listening in the dark. Scientists have spent decades mapping the galaxy's center, capturing radio waves that took tens of thousands of years to reach us. They build images pixel by pixel, photon by photon, until the invisible becomes visible. But even the sharpest image reveals only shadow. The rest, the bridge, if it exists, remains hidden, a secret the universe keeps in its sleep. The narration flows into a gentler rhythm, reminding the listener that sometimes, not knowing is part of the wonder. The unknown preserves mystery. The dream of a hidden bridge allows the mind to wander beyond boundaries. In the cradle of silence, the black hole becomes not just a void, but a mirror. A reflection of our desire to cross what cannot be crossed. To reach, even when there is nothing to touch. Astronomers debate, philosophers ponder, and storytellers listen. Could information, light, memory, even consciousness, ever pass through such a bridge unharmed? Or is the journey itself the transformation, where energy and identity dissolve into something new? The calm voice lingers on the word maybe, because maybe is where discovery begins. In the space between certainty and silence, all wonder lives. As the chapter nears its close, the imagery deepens. Folded starlight, corridors of colorless light, the hush of a cosmic river flowing nowhere. If Sagittarius A* is a gate, then perhaps we are the ones not yet ready to open it. Perhaps what waits beyond requires a language not yet invented, a mathematics written in gravity's handwriting. The final words come softly, almost whispered. The narrator pauses, letting the listener feel the stillness between thoughts, the faint weight of distance itself. There is a bridge. Who or what built it? And somewhere beneath the galaxy's glowing arms, the question lingers, unanswered, timeless, and waiting. In the beginning, before the galaxies took form, the universe was a vast ocean of hydrogen fog, a faint, endless glow stretching in every direction. There were no stars, no planets, not even color, only a silent haze bathed in the afterglow of the Big Bang. Space was still young, still cooling, still learning to dream. As the cosmos expanded, gravity began its quiet work, gathering invisible dust into gentle ripples. Those ripples became clouds, and those clouds in time became the first lights ever born. Astronomers call this era the cosmic dawn. To imagine it is to picture a sky without edges, where the first stars flickered like distant thoughts. These early suns were enormous, hundreds of times the mass of our own. They burned hot and fast, pouring light into a universe that had only known darkness. Their ultraviolet glow tore apart the fog of hydrogen, clearing the view for the galaxies yet to come. But their brilliance was brief. Within a few million years they exhausted their fuel, collapsing under their own weight. And in those deaths, the first black holes were born. Each collapse was a quiet catastrophe. The light faded, the core imploded, and spacetime itself folded inward. What remained was not absence, but something deeper, a doorway without a frame. Scientists believe these ancient black holes grew quickly, feeding on the dense clouds that surrounded them. Some merged, others drifted, until they became the seeds around which entire galaxies would spiral. Our Milky Way's own colossal heart, Sagittarius A*, may trace its lineage back to one of those first dark cradles. Even now, telescopes like the James Webb Space Telescope and the Atacama Large Millimeter Array are searching for the fingerprints of that ancient era. They peer across billions of light years, collecting the faintest whispers of radio and infrared light. What they see is not the past. It is the beginning, still reaching us after 13 billion years. A shimmer in the black, a frozen echo from when time itself was only a few 100 million years old. Imagine drifting through that newborn universe. The stars are blue-white giants, their surfaces boiling with fury. Between them, gravity is sculpting the first galaxies like brushstrokes across a dark canvas. In that silence, something ancient hums, the gravitational breath of the first black holes as they feed. Their pull is gentle yet unstoppable, shaping the rhythm of matter itself. Every black hole becomes a storyteller. Their language is gravity, their memory written in the paths of stars that orbit them still. The narrator's voice softens, describing how these cosmic relics connect the present to the past. When we study Sagittarius A*, we are listening to a tale that began before Earth was even dust. The same forces that twisted the first clouds of gas now hold entire constellations in place. The same silence that followed those first collapses still fills the spaces between stars tonight. Some scientists wonder if black holes are time capsules, preserving the earliest structures of the cosmos, storing quantum information that refuses to be lost. If true, then the universe itself may be recording its own story, hiding it behind horizons we can never cross. Each feeding, each flare, each gravitational wave becomes a verse in an unending poem written by creation itself. In the soft tone of the narrator, the listener is reminded that even destruction can give birth. From collapse came balance, from silence came song. Without those first black holes, galaxies might never have gathered, stars might never have aligned, and life, our fragile blue world, might never have existed at all. Now, as we look outward, the same darkness that once frightened early humans has become a comfort. A reminder that the unknown is not empty, merely waiting. The first black holes are still out there, faint and distant, drifting beyond the reach of light, still whispering the story of how everything began. And perhaps, the narrator muses softly, our own black hole, the one at the center of the Milky Way, was once a spark in that same ancient night, a survivor of the universe's first heartbeat. Its gravity still echoes with memories we cannot yet decode. The music fades, replaced by a hush like falling dust. The thought lingers. Somewhere deep in that endless silence, the universe remembers its first breath, and still hums the tune of its birth. The Milky Way turns slowly above the silent world. Beneath its river of starlight lies something ancient, something watching. At the very center of our galaxy, wrapped in dust and invisible light, is Sagittarius A*, a supermassive black hole more than 4 million times the mass of our Sun. It does not shine. It devours. And yet, through its darkness, the galaxy itself holds together, drawn inward by its immense gravity. Imagine floating there, in the warm velvet of space, where the stars thin into a pale mist. Ahead, the light begins to bend, not broken, not dimmed, but curved as if reality itself is trying to look away. That distortion is the black hole's edge, the event horizon, the line beyond which no message, no atom, no memory ever returns. Around it drifts the faintest glow, an accretion disk, a halo of gas and dust heated until it screams in X-rays, circling at nearly the speed of light. For centuries, humans imagined monsters at the edge of maps. Today, our monsters hide at the edge of physics. But the difference is profound. We have seen this one. In 2019, a network of telescopes spread across Earth became a single planet-sized eye. The Event Horizon Telescope gathered whispers of radio waves from Sagittarius A*, captured across deserts, mountains and frozen plateaus. It combined those signals into a single picture, a glowing ring, a dark center, proof that the abyss is real. If you're listening as you drift towards sleep, that's why these stories exist. Subscribe and share where you are and what time it is. I read them. New York at midnight, London before dawn, Sydney in daylight, like constellations of listeners scattered beneath the same sky. The feeding of a black hole is not an explosion but a silence. Particles fall inward, forming a spiral, compressing, heating, radiating until they vanish beyond sight. To the human mind, it's violence. To the cosmos, it's rhythm. Astronomers call it accretion, matter offering itself to gravity's will. Each orbit is a farewell, each photon a last breath. When the inflow thickens, the black hole awakens, shining in wavelengths our eyes can't see. Radio waves, X-rays, gamma bursts. A feeding black hole can outshine entire galaxies, yet from our distance, 26,000 light-years away, it appears like a faint murmur through static. Even silence has structure here. Magnetic fields twist the gas into ribbons, spinning faster as they approach the horizon. They create jets, twin beams of energy shooting from the poles, sometimes thousands of light-years long. These jets carve the galaxy's halo, shaping the birth of new stars. Out of destruction, creation begins again. There is beauty in that paradox. The same force that swallows light also sculpts the Milky Way. Without Sagittarius A*, the galaxy's spiral might unravel, its stars drifting into cold distance. The black hole is both anchor and predator, both center and shadow. Its gravity hums beneath everything we know, from the orbits of distant clouds to the delicate dance of our sun around the galactic core. Scientists once thought nothing could escape a black hole, but nature loves half-truths. Information clings to the edge, encoded in faint radiation. Hawking radiation, a quantum whisper that slowly leaks energy back into the universe. Over unimaginable time, even the darkest objects fade. What seems eternal may simply be patient. Look closer still. Inside the accretion disk, temperatures climb to millions of degrees. Iron atoms lose their electrons and light stretches into fierce X-ray waves. Space there behaves like liquid glass, dense, warped, shimmering. If you could watch it safely, you'd see time itself distort. Clocks near the horizon tick slower. To a distant observer, anything falling appears to freeze, its final moment stretched forever. The star dies, but its image lingers, an eternal ghost at the threshold of nothing. For us on Earth, those moments arrive as flickers in telescope data, changes in brightness measured over days or years. To the galaxy, they're the heartbeat of its core. Each pulse tells us the black hole is alive, not as a creature but as a consequence. A wound in spacetime that keeps the cosmos coherent. And still, there is a mystery deeper than its mass or its appetite. Where does the matter go? The laws we trust collapse inside the event horizon. Einstein's relativity predicts infinite density, but nature despises infinities. Somewhere inside, physics must rewrite itself. Perhaps into quantum foam, perhaps into another dimension entirely. We don't know. That ignorance doesn't frighten scientists, it fuels them. The same way the black hole feeds on matter, we feed on curiosity. Imagine again that you're drifting there, close enough to feel the pull but far enough to escape. The stars behind you stretch into thin white arcs. Ahead, the horizon glows like a dying ember. Every particle of light bends toward it, drawn by a gravity that is less a force and more a longing. The closer you drift, the quieter the universe becomes. Radio waves flatten. Time stretches. Even thought feels slower, heavier. Somewhere below, perhaps 1,000 miles above the event horizon, electrons spiral in magnetic fields, emitting faint synchrotron light, a ghostly orange halo. It is this glow the Event Horizon Telescope captured. A perfect ring of fire around an invisible center. Humanity stared into that void and, for the first time, saw evidence of the impossible. It was like hearing the universe exhale after billions of years of silence. The story of Sagittarius A* is not one of terror, but of scale. So immense that our words become whispers, our instruments become prayers. The black hole is not evil. It simply is. A natural outcome of gravity's relentless patience. Stars live, die, and collapse. Galaxies swirl, collide, and center around their darkness. Life too follows the same rhythm: growth, hunger, rest. So when you close your eyes tonight and feel small beneath the stars, remember that the same laws guiding this cosmic abyss also hold the atoms in your hands. You and the black hole share the same story, matter born from starlight caught between expansion and collapse. The silence at the galaxy's center deepens. Dust clouds drift through radio light like slow-moving ghosts. The instruments hum, waiting for another flare, another whisper. Somewhere beyond our perception, Sagittarius A * continues to feed, not in rage but in rhythm. And in that rhythm lies something faintly human, the endless desire to draw closer to what we cannot yet understand. The galaxy turns once more, patient and unhurried. Light bends, shadows stretch, and time folds softly around its hidden heart. In the cradle of that silence, one truth endures. The darker the center becomes, the more the stars around it seem to shine. It begins with stillness. The stars of the Milky Way drift in their eternal orbits, unaware that their fates are already written in gravity's quiet handwriting. Through the cosmic haze, Andromeda glows faintly, another spiral of light, immense and serene, gliding toward us across 2.5 million light-years. No explosion, no chaos. Just motion, inevitable and slow. Astronomers call it a merger, but in truth, it is more like a dance. One so vast that each step takes millions of years. Imagine watching the sky as Andromeda grows, year by year, like a luminous scar spreading across the black. The galaxies stretch toward each other, their invisible halos of dark matter touching first. They do not collide as stones do, but rather drift through one another, stars slipping between stars. Most will never meet. Yet, gravity reshapes everything, a soft choreography of destruction and creation. The narrator's voice remains calm, almost reverent, describing how the Milky Way's spiral arms begin to distort, pulled by invisible tethers of mass. The familiar constellations, Orion, Cassiopeia, the Southern Cross, twist out of recognition. Gas clouds ignite, birthing new stars in radiant waves of light. To any future watchers, the night sky becomes a living mural of slow fire. Deep within both galaxies lie their beating hearts, two supermassive black holes, each weighing millions of suns. Sagittarius A *, silent for eons, senses the distant pull of its twin. Across unimaginable distances, their gravity begins to whisper. They spiral toward each other, surrounded by chaos, shattered orbits, flung worlds, and drifting nebulae that glow like dying embers. Through gentle narration, the listener drifts through this future vision. Telescopes long silent now rest in ruins, but their data predicted this all along. The galaxies merge, forming one vast elliptical giant, its stars older, its light softer, its heart heavy with darkness. The black holes draw closer, encircled by a halo of torn starlight, until they merge in silence. No sound escapes their union, yet space-time itself shudders. Gravitational waves ripple outward, like the deep bass of the universe resonating through the cosmic sea. LIGO, Virgo, and their descendants, those sensitive ears of humanity, once listened for such tremors. If they could still hear, they would detect the song of the final collapse. Two shadows becoming one, their voices lost to time. The narrator's tone slows, a lull between pulses. Space folds. Time sighs. The great structures of the Milky Way settle into new order, no longer spiral but smooth and oval, like the surface of a sleeping giant. The stars no longer race, they drift as if resting after the dance. The feeding has ended, the hunger of gravity is momentarily satisfied. Still within the merged heart, the black hole continues to spin, faster now, more powerful, a storm compressed into infinity. Around it, the remnants of the galaxy circle in eternal twilight. Dust clouds, once bright with potential, now fall inward like snow into darkness. Every orbit, every photon, every whisper of energy becomes part of the great silence. The narration grows softer, tinged with melancholy and wonder. The Earth, if it still exists, is long gone, its memory scattered among the stars. Yet, in some corner of the cosmos, the echo of human curiosity endures. Data etched in alien archives, stories told in distant tongues. Our fascination with the unknown remains, woven into the universe's endless experiment with itself. Andromeda and the Milky Way are no longer two names but one. Milkomeda, the single luminous scar left by gravity's patience. It shines faintly in the deep future, a quiet testament to motion, time, and inevitability. Nothing escapes the slow pull toward unity, not even the light of memory. As the chapter fades, the imagery becomes delicate, almost fragile. The narrator describes how, even in the face of cosmic destruction, beauty persists. In the final shimmer of collapsing galaxies lies a strange grace, a reminder that endings are merely transformations written in slower language. And as the last stars drift into silence, the question lingers like a sigh in the dark. If everything ends, what dream remains? At the very center of our galaxy, hidden beneath clouds of cosmic dust and ancient starlight, lies something vast and silent. A gravitational wound in the fabric of space itself. Sagittarius A*, the Milky Way's supermassive black hole, drifts unseen 26,000 light-years away. Around it, the galaxy hums like a sleeping giant. Stars orbit as though tethered to an invisible god, their paths curved by an unseen hand. Imagine it now, the view from a ship far beyond the spiral arms. You would see a glowing disk of light, stars wheeling like sparks in slow motion, and in the middle, a perfect darkness where even light forgets how to escape. Every second that darkness feeds. Every second, it changes the story of the galaxy. Astronomers once thought black holes were nothing more than equations, beautiful, terrifying theories. Then telescopes listened more carefully. Radio arrays scattered across deserts and mountaintops began to hum in unison, forming a single eye the size of Earth. They stared toward Sagittarius A*, capturing signals that had traveled for tens of thousands of years. What they found was not chaos but rhythm. The accretion disk, the ring of matter spiraling inward, glowed in shifting shades of orange and red, like embers stirred by a cosmic wind. Matter drawn inward does not vanish instantly. It spins, compresses, and screams in light before silence takes it. The narrator's voice slows. Space here bends like water under weight. Time stretches thin. To approach Sagittarius A*, would be to feel centuries drip by in seconds, your heartbeat matching the slow pulse of the stars. The feeding of a black hole is not a violent storm. It is an ancient ritual. Gas clouds drift close, torn apart and heated to millions of degrees, forming rivers of fire that curve into infinity. Jets of energy escape from the poles, bursting across the galaxy like arrows of light. And somewhere within, all motion ends. If you are listening as you drift toward sleep, that's why these stories exist. Subscribe and share where you are and what time it is. I read them. New York at midnight, London before dawn, Sydney in daylight, like constellations of listeners across Earth, all connected beneath the same sky. In the quiet, the narrator continues. We've learned that Sagittarius A*, consumes very little compared to its size. It is not the roaring monster Hollywood imagines, it's more of a patient, measured sleeper. Sometimes it stirs, swallowing a drifting cloud or the remnants of an unlucky star. Then, for centuries, it rests again, its hunger hidden beneath calm. To scientists, this rhythm is a gift. To dreamers, it's a mystery. The Event Horizon Telescope, the instrument that captured the first shadow of a black hole, once turned its gaze here. It saw not darkness, but a soft ring of light bending around absence, like a candle halo around an invisible flame. In that image, humanity saw itself, curious, fragile, and willing to stare into the unknown. Around Sagittarius A*, stars like S2 orbit at tremendous speeds, completing a circuit every 16 years. They move so fast that Einstein's theory of relativity becomes visible in their dance. Each orbit a living test of spacetime itself. Their paths warp near the black hole's invisible edge, showing us how gravity sculpts the cosmos. Every observation feels like listening to an ancient language translated through light. The narrator pauses. There is something strangely peaceful about this abyss. Its terror is softened by distance, by time, by the way its darkness seems almost tired. It has been feeding for billions of years, shaping the Milky Way's evolution, guiding the births and deaths of stars. We orbit this quiet monster without fear, bathed in its gravitational calm. And yet, as the telescopes continue to listen, they detect flares, brief, bright flickers of energy. Each one is a heartbeat, a sign of the feeding within. Some last minutes, others fade in hours. Scientists wonder, is it gas colliding with itself, magnetic fields untangling, or something deeper, perhaps a message from the edge of time? For every flare that lights the darkness, thousands more go unseen. We catch only whispers, echoes of the cosmic feast happening in slow motion. The narrator describes it softly. Particles spinning at near light speed, colliding, merging, releasing energy before being pulled past the event horizon, never to return. The process is both violent and serene, destruction and creation folded into one. As you listen, picture the feeding slowed down to human scale, a planet-sized swirl of glowing dust circling a bottomless well, each turn slower than the last, each glimmer fading until only silence remains. That silence is not empty. It's full of memory, gravity, and the faint hum of spacetime reshaping itself. From that silence comes perspective. The galaxy we inhabit is both fragile and eternal, its beauty made sharper by what it orbits. Even the most terrifying forces have purpose. Without Sagittarius A*, the Milky Way might never have formed the way it did. Its pull gathered matter, shaped spiral arms, and anchored stars that would one day give birth to worlds like ours. The narrator breathes softly. We are all orbiting something. An idea, a mystery, a silence that defines us. And in that orbit we find meaning. Somewhere deep in the center of our galaxy, a star dies tonight. Its light will never reach us. It will spiral inward, joining the endless meal, becoming part of the shadow. But in that act of loss, the black hole glows brighter for a moment, a cosmic exhale before stillness returns. The voice lowers to a whisper. Maybe the terror we feel when thinking about black holes isn't fear of destruction, but fear of reflection. The abyss, after all, only shows us how vast we are, and how much of us still remains unknown. And as the final notes fade, the narrator leaves a single question suspended in the dark. The silence has lasted for ages, but what happens when it breaks?